Hello everyone, this is Trevor. In today's exercise, we're doing another blind SQL injection, this time with conditional errors. So we have a tracking cookie used for analytics. The results are not returned, therefore it's blind. Does not respond any differently based on whether query returns any rows. If the SQL query causes an error, the application returns a custom error message. So this is how we're going to define our true/false. The database contains a different table called users with username and password. So we'll get the password of the administrator user, and then to solve it, we'll log in. All right. Well, that sounds good. Let's go ahead and start our script. So we want this one to be conditional errors. So I'm going to do conditional errors.py. And I'm going to take our template, copy that over, put that in there. We'll start with that. Let's open up the conditional responses. This was the one that we created last time in the last video. So one thing about this one is we are going to start off by turning a lot of this stuff into a class, and then we're going to use that class and override some of the functions. That's going to come in handy. So we're going to create another file called SQLi.py. And then in here, we are going to create a class SQLi. All right, def init. Whoops. Man, I am all over the place. Self. Let's start moving stuff that we want from conditional responses. So we want format length, format char is true, format request, determine all of this. Format results, get response string. All of this. All right, now that we have that, let's start removing some of these double things. And we need to add self. So what I'm going to do, instead of adding this to everyone, I'm just going to do a %s /def dot asterisk parentheses self. Oh no, we want this with switch with def dot asterisk. No, that's not gonna work. There's probably a better way to do this. I don't know what it is. Self. We're gonna just do this then, the hard way. So I'm just adding self to all of these. Because they're part of the class now, that's going to help us. All right, there we go. This one is one we are going to override in subclass because it is highly dependent on the the type of database, we want to override that one. We're going to override this one, and this one. So these four in our subclasses, we're going to override to fit them to the exact exploit that we're doing. We need to import requests. We need to import the log. So we want to do that just like we did in utils. And we want this. Whoops. This. Logging URL 3. Import requests like that. We want max length. We're not going to make that as part, we're not going to make that a global. What we'll do is we'll add it here. Now we'll make it a class variable, should we? Max length, we want to be able to override that. Let's add it here. Max length, self dot max length equals max length, and we'll give it a default value of 100 for now. Now anytime we see %s/max length, we want to switch that with self dot max length and do that globally. Format length query, this is going to be self. Format request is self. Is true is self. We're going to need to import utils. From utils, import utils. No, just import utils. Available chars. This one is fine being a global variable. And the reason why is because this one I don't expect to change. We're always going to want all the printable. We can, of course, tune that. Let's say if we know the input isn't all printable, it's just numbers or just letters, should be able to modify that. So let's add again in, what did we change here? Oh, I don't know why. We want in conditional errors, no, in our SQLi, we want the string here, and then available chars. Let's do that. Let's do that same thing. Avail chars equals string dot printable self dot avail chars equals avail chars, and then %s/avail chars self dot avail chars. Format char query, this is going to be self. Format request self is true self determines that sys. We need import sys. We need import concurrent futures. All right, well, I think that is, we got all the errors out. Looks pretty good. There's one other thing I want to do. So we've got result string, determine result length, determine where's our concurrent future stuff? So we have this only in the response string. We could go faster if we had this in both determine, if both the length and the char had used threads. Of course, this will only matter as long as it's boolean-based SQL, blind SQL, and not time-based, because time-based will mess up on us. So do we want to move this up here? Let's leave it for now. Yeah, it's not going to save us that much, at least at first. All right. So we've got our class. For conditional errors, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to subclass that class. So from SQLi import SQLi. And then here we're going to do class my SQLi. Of course, name it whatever you want. And we're going to use SQLi as the parent. We will want to def init self, and then we want to do the super self super. I'm gonna have to look this up because I don't know if I did that right. 5 Python super sub super with single inheritance. That's what we need. Rectangle. I don't see super anywhere there. Here's what we want. Super init. All right. Conditional errors. Super. And then dot init. And then we want the input. This, I don't like the name MySQLi. It sounds like it's for MySQL, and it's not. I don't know what to call it other than that, but we'll just leave it as that. I mean, you guys can name it whatever you want. This is just an example. Super init y is this undefined name super. Isn't that how I just freaking read it? Oh, they have super it doesn't have the double underscores. Oh my gosh. That took me way too long to notice. Sorry about that. All right, we know we want to overwrite the format these things. Format length char is true and request. The reason we want to overwrite them or override them is because these may not work. These queries may not work. The is true is definitely not going to work. So, in fact, we know what we want here already based on the description. We want if response.status code does not equal to 100, return true. Well, return false. So this is saying if we get an error in the query, it's true, or an error back, it's true, otherwise it's false. We may need to switch this around depending on how well we get along with writing our query. We know it's going to be in tracking ID, so this is close. We just need to figure out these two, length and the char query. Once we figure out those, we can plug them in here, make sure this all works, and then we can write our code. So let's go ahead and get started with the lab. Please remember to like and subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Really appreciate it. We want to use burp. And we have a tracking cookie. So let's just try with a single quote. Internal server error. Proxy. Academy Lab header. This is what we want. Here's our single quote. So let's send this to repeater and do that again with another single quote. This should work fine, and we don't get an error. We get a 200 response. Remember, we're trying to find true, false, and then a length and char query. True, false, length, and char query. Those are three things we need. First, we need true, false. If we think about the query, it's probably pretty basic, you know, something like select asterisk from user where tracking ID equals the tracking ID, right? So with that in mind, a single quote, we could do we could do or A1 equals 1. Comment out the rest. That may be a true. Let's give that a try. We get a true. Let's try a false. No, that did not work. Let's pull up our SQLi cheat sheet. We don't know the database type either. What if we use these concatenation. ZZ. So we used a real tracking ID, and then we did a conditional if whatever is true, it adds something, otherwise it doesn't add anything. That would mean the tracking ID is valid unless this if statement is invalid, then we make the whole thing invalid. I think that'll work. We need to concatenate here. So let's look at which one do we want to try? Let's try. We've got Postgres and Oracle. The last one was Postgres, so it's probably not Postgres. Let's try the plus. Let's try Microsoft SQL Server. Plus, and then we need some kind of conditional here. It is conditional errors. This is what we want. Perfect. So this is going to select case when we can put anything we want here, then 1, 0, else, null, end. And let me. Then 1 divided by 0. So we should get an error here, else it's not going to add anything. Null, end. Our condition equals, let's do select 1 equals 1. And we want an extra set of parentheses. Probably want to URL encode all of this. Internal server error. All right, let's try the next one. Let's try MySQL with the concat. We'll leave this one, so I'm going to do send a repeater so I can come back to it if I need to. We're going to delete all of this. Oh, you know what we didn't do? We didn't add our space. And we need to URL encode this. 500 internal error. Then 0. 500. All right, we get 500 for both a true and a false. We don't know if it's MS SQL, so we're going to try MySQL. And delete all of this. Might as well add that on now so I don't forget it. For MySQL, we have this. Conditional errors. We want a space. Remember that we had 2 options for concatenation in MySQL. One was using the keyword concat, and the other one was a space. So we should be able to just space this out and then select if. Let's do A equals A. If that's true, it's going to select table name from information schema tables. Otherwise, it's going to do A. I don't know exactly how that is a conditional error, but let's try this. Select table name from information schema table. Otherwise, A. We get a 500. And another 500. Let's move on to Oracle. Let's check the concat. Oracle is 2 bars. Select case when A equals A, then else n from dual. All right, so let's URL encode this. Send that. 500. 200, hey, looks like we found it. A 500 and B 200. Whew, all right, it is a Oracle, and we're gonna do 500 when false, 200 when true. No, the opposite. 500 when true, 200 when false. So let's adjust our thing. Is true if the response code, and I totally forgot if, so this is false and we get 200. False is 200. If response return change word false, change word true. Oh, if response code equals 200, it's false, right? A equals B is false, 200. If response code equals 200, return false. You know, what if we get a 404? Hopefully, I mean, we shouldn't. Let's leave it for now. If we start getting weird results, we can come in and adjust this is true. So we need a real tracking code. Remember that. Because this won't work if we don't have a real tracking code, unless we create one and it save, or like we use one and it saves it and then it's good for now on. So it needs to have that. We've got our true false. Now we need the character, the length and character. So let's do select A from dual. This is our, so this is going to sit in place of our inner query. How do we do length in Oracle? Let me just look up in my notes here. Looks like it's just length. And then we need from dual again. So select case, select length, length. Let's add another parentheses. Here we'll do from dual. I'm going to need to copy this out. There's too many parentheses and too many. So let's copy. We need, all right. URL decode this first. Control Shift U, and then we'll copy. All right, so let me do this. And I'm just matching all these up. Move this into another line. That looks right. So we are getting select AAA from dual. This needs to have its own parentheses, which it does. And we want this line to join it. We're doing select length. And then we want to check if this length equals a number. Select length equals, let's do 4. Let's do a true. And then we'll do from dual. Move this onto that line. All right, that makes sense to me. Select case when, select length, select quadruple A, from dual equals 4 from dual, then to char 1 over 0. So this is going to be a division by 0 error, else null from end from dual. So if this is true, we're going to do a division by 0 error. Otherwise, it's not going to concatenate anything. So we should get a 200 response when this is false and a 500 error when it's true. And we've already kind of witnessed that. This should be good for, our length query. Let's just remove all this. Well, I don't want to remove all this because I might need it again when we go to our char query. So let's do this. Let's leave that space alone. I think this, we should put another parenthesis here. And the reason why is I feel like anytime I have a select, they need their own set of parentheses by themselves. When already has one, so we need to add a double just for select. Else dual. Good, let's go ahead and add one here and here. That covers that select statement with an extra set of parentheses. All right, let's copy this over into our burp and make sure it works. We need to Control U to URL encode that, send it. We get a 500. 500, remember, was when it is true. Let's check that false. Gets a 200. We did something wrong. 400. and select case when null end from dual, select length, select from dual, equals 4 from dual. Maybe it was that extra set of parentheses that I added. I can't think of anything else I changed. Is it this capitalized? Hello? Come back. I don't know why dual was capitalized. I don't think that's something I did, I guess. It's waiting. Let's cancel. Let's make sure the lab is still alive. Whoops. What in the world is going on? It's definitely still alive. $500. $500. $500. Dang it. We did something wrong. All right, this one still works, right? Am I going crazy? Did this used to work and now doesn't work? Maybe it's our tracking cookie. Remember I said we need to have a valid tracking cookie? That's crazy, crazy. Let's delete all. So this is a valid one. Copy that. Just paste that there. 500. 500. Sweet. I have no idea how we just made this not work. Let's go back to when we had a 200. Wow, this is being really annoying right now. I can't figure out what happened between when it was working and when it wasn't. All right, let's start over, I guess. With conditional errors, we're on the right lab. Let's refresh this. Let's do proxy, this one, send to repeater. Repeater, if we do a single quote, we get an error. If we get 2 single quotes, we get a 200. If we add on from conditional errors, this single quote, this to add, Control V, dash dash space, select case when, I don't know if this will work. Let's just send this first. 500, and then I will URL encode this, send it 500, 500. So we need select one equals 1 from dual. This is super duper annoying. We were moving along so good. That's what we had. Select A equals A and A equals B. Somewhere in our history, we had that. Before we added this. Proxy, let's change our tracking ID to this one. Oh, and maybe our session needs to be changed too. Maybe that could be what is causing our current issue. $500, $200. Woo! Thank goodness. What the crap happened? Oh, I don't know if maybe I don't know what happened. Wait, do we have the right W8? We do have the right one here. And we have the right tracking ID. Let's add a thing there. And a thing here. Select case when. Select A equals B from dual. Then to char 10, else null, end from dual. This should work. 500. I don't understand. What's different? Select case. Oh, we're not. Let's try this. Select A. Select A from dual. And then here we'll do equals A. This should be true. And this should be false. 200. Okay. Man, sorry about that. All right. We now need the length. Select case when. Back to the length. we have a bunch of crap written down already. From dual. Change that. I don't know if that's causing an issue, but it could. Let's go back to here. Select 1, 2, 3, 4. Select length of this, and we need another one here. Select length of this equals 4, and this one should match with that one. Then char should be true. Nope. Select case when. Let's just copy this. This should have the right number of... I don't know why I'm struggling so bad with this, people. Sorry. Select the length of this equals 5. That looks good to me. Maybe this has to be capitalized. Length equals 5. And then we need our select case when in front of it. When this is true, then we do this. This should match at the end. That matches. That there, that there, that there, that there. This looks perfect to me. Man, does that look... It looks right. Control U. Send it. This should be false. This should be true. Select case when. Let's go back to our this one works, right? Got a 200. Maybe I need a from dual here. Maybe that's what I'm missing. If you guys saw it long before me, let me know. So select length right here. All right, that one ends there. This one there equals 5. Let's We're going to add a from dual here. We're just going to add in these from duals until something works. I included the freaking semicolon. Didn't need to or want to. 500. No, that should be. All right, let's go to our trusty. I don't know why I haven't done this already. But docker ps-a, we have an Oracle running. Exec Oracle. This should have been a fast one, and I just keep messing it up. We want 6. I want to do this in here. Select case when, select length, select AAA from dual, select length, this equals 5 from dual, something. Error at line 1. Missing expression. Missing expression. I'm looking at my notes for Oracle just to see if I'm missing anything obvious. Select length, select AAA from dual, from dual, 4. That's correct. Making progress. So we want select case when what we just did except for I don't want the semicolon. When this equals 5. That's probably what I did wrong. Is the parentheses. I hate how in this Docker container I cannot arrow up, and I can't arrow over. That makes it super difficult to do things like change a 5 to a 4. Whatever. Yes. So it was that parenthesis right there. I had it inside and I needed it outside. But you can see that if I do 5, we get no error. And if I do 4, we get the divisor equal to 0. Sorry. All right, so we're going to move this to here. No, we're not. We're going to take this, which I know works, and we're going to use that. Yeah, from right here to right there. And we're going to remove that. I'm going to highlight this, Control U, that. We're going to send it. We get a 500. We're going to change this to 5. We should get a 200. Yes. All right. This is our freaking... Sorry. This is our length query. That was painful. Length query. I'm going to just put this here for now, comment it out. So we have it. And then we need a char query. Select length for char. Let's look at here. Do they have char? No. Select case when, then to char, else. I'm just looking in my notes again, char query. So we can do the sub str and then chr is how you do the same as what was here. But we want substr instead of the full substring. Whoops. Select case when, instead of length, we're going to do substring. So substr, and it was that, right? Substr. We're going to from right here, we want to get the first character. We want a comma, first character, only one character. This should be an A. Select case when. So this runs substring. Here we want the extra thing, right? This is the internal. Substring goes to here. This one goes to here. We don't want from dual here. And we don't want that one. Let's double check. So this one goes here, which is correct. Substring goes here, which is correct. The select. Do we need from dual on freaking select substring? I don't know if we do. This one goes to here, and that should be perfect. Equals, let's try a select substring from dual. We're just packing these from duals in. Can't get enough of the from dual. $200. Freaking from dual. A and B. Yes, this is our char query. Much faster and easier. Now that we got crap worked out. Copy. All right, format length query. Let's move this up here. And we want to return this. Our inner query goes here. Select length. Inner query. Our length goes here. Else null and from dual. Looks good to me. Comment that out. We'll leave that commented. We want to not have this all be freaking URL encoded. Dang it. I'll just do it by hand. X R and then we don't want a URL encoded because we're going to URL encode it. This is an equal sign. R space. If we have a URL encoded and then you encode it again, it will mess up for sure. We're going to leave that commented for now, but leave it in place. And R space. There's an art in Vim to setting yourself up for repetition, so that I only have to click. I'm not super good at it, but if you get it, you can figure out one action and then just repeat that action over again. So like if I did xi plus, that's not a very good way to do it, because now if I hit the dot to repeat, the last thing that gets repeated, which is the space. If I compare that to just R space, now if I hit the dot, I get exactly that. I just replace that. Anyway, sorry to sidetrack you. That was just what I was thinking about as I was doing this. We've got format length, format char. We've got our is true. If it's 500, it's false. If it's 200, it's true. Format request outer query. So this is not exactly right. Right now, we need a valid tracking ID in front of these. So let's add a tracking ID. Tracking ID here. And then we will put that here. When we call these, which is unfortunate that we also need to, how can we do that without? Right now, we're not overriding anything that calls those, so we can't give it an extra thing unless we override the part that calls it, which is format length right here. Outer query equals, unless we add another one to format like the outer query, we would have to put it here. But I don't want to override this. Let's do that. Let's add on a format outer query. Def format outer query self, and we want to pass it the outer query, and we're gonna just return outer query in our class. And we're gonna do the same. Well, first we're gonna call it outer query format length. We're gonna do outer query equals self dot format outer query. In this one, we don't need to do anything, so we're just gonna provide it the outer query. We're not gonna change a thing with it, but this gives us a hook that we can change it from our subclasses without changing any of this. No, it doesn't. It doesn't buy us anything. I'm really a dumb person. Well, no, it does. No, because this is what I'm gonna do. Sorry. Man, today is really just getting away from me. I am going to, when I create the class, I'm going to init it with a tracking ID. So self.tracking ID equals tracking ID. I'm going to add it here, tracking ID. That way it's part of the class. And now when I format here, I can just use self dot and self dot. Much better. Everything else looks good. Now, oh, I did not totally URL decode rsplice. All right. I was working on this one, I guess. We need select. This is where our inner query is going to be. Inner query. This is our index equals, and then this is where our char okay. How can I make that? We are going to make this easier to read. So I'm going to put a parenthesis here. I'm going to pick a spot to cut this off. That's going to be right here. I'm just going to put a double quote there and enter double quote from dual. And then I'm going to do the same here. And then end it with the parentheses. Notice I didn't add any spaces or take any away. I just cut them off. That makes it still one string. This time it's readable. I'm going to delete this. It looked good there. CHR is correct for... We're going to do the same thing here. Whoops. Whoops. What am I doing? R. All right. Parenthesis. Select case. We need to find a spot. We're going to do it here, I guess. And there. Jeez Louise. If everything's working, we should be able to get the database version, at least. So let's do shop equals shop args.url args.no proxy class. Let's initiate an instance of the class. So SQLi equals my SQLi. We want to give it the tracking ID. We don't have that yet, so response equals request.get shop.base URL. We're going to get the shop, we need if args.no proxy. We'll do this, else we will do response equal request.get shop.base URL proxies equals proxies verify equals false. This is so that we need to do this from utils. We need to do the request so that we have the tracking ID and session. So tracking ID equals res dot, it's going to be cookies, and then I think tracking ID, just like it is shown named there. Let's print this out. And I doubt our lab is still alive. It is. Python. Conditional error. We want to give it that. Tracking ID. We do have it. Perfect. So we did that right. We need tracking ID and session. I don't know if we need both. I just ran into so many issues. I don't want to risk it. Session token equals resp.cookies. And it's just named session. Righto. Right. Let's print both tracking ID session token. And then we will do some logging here. So log.info. It looks like we grabbed both. Log.info getting tracking ID and session token. Log.info tracking ID equals I don't know. I don't know if we need to print this out. Oh well. It's done. Uh-oh. The beast is awake. Sorry about the barking. Let me shut my door real quick. Hold on. That will at least make it quieter. Perfect timing. Things are going right. Am I right? Session token. So now that we have both, we want to execute our exploit. We are going to create a subclass. We need to give it the tracking ID. And now our instance has that. We should also give it this. Should we give it the session? We should give it the session token. Self, and then session token. We're going to do the exact same thing. Self.session token equals self.session token. When we format this response, we're going to put it here, session, self.session token. That's perfect. Now that we have that, we can do SQLi dot, and if you remember, we have this handy dandy get response string where we pass it the inner query, the URL, no proxy, and the number of threads we want. So get response string. I already forgot. We want the inner query first. Let's do the version. Remember, that's some crazy from the $ version. Just to make, let's do something shorter. Well, it's right here. We'll do something way shorter. We'll just do like select at from dual, of course. Gotta have that from dual. Select a from dual. That's going to be our inner query. And then let's check here. We want URL, no proxy, and num threads. URL is shop.base URL, shop.no proxy, and then number threads. Let's start with just one. This should return the results. So let's just save this as res equals and then print res. If this works, we will get the string A, and B, and I will be super happy. So as our lab died, our lab is still alive, has no session token. Oh, dang. I put self twice, which is no, you can't do that. You can't just clone willy-nilly. Come on. MySQL object cannot be true as an integer. We're getting max length. Max length. So why not? Why can't it be interpreted as an integer? It should be an integer. Init max length equals 100. Self.max length equals max length. What? What am I going? That should be right. Max length equals 100. When we, let's just length equals 100. Yeah, I know you got multiple. I want one to be the default if nothing is provided. It's saying it got multiple. Well, yeah, no shit. Let's move. Man, this, I don't know. Self.max length equals 100. Let's just not even bother with this because I don't know what's going on. We're going to just take this out altogether. And we're going to set this to 100. And then here we override it if we need to or want to. Self.avail chars. We're going to do the same thing here. I don't know what's going on here. Self.avail chars equals string.printable. Well, we have pass there, but we definitely don't need that. And then in ours, well, let's try that first. SQLi, but 2 were given. Is that our problem? Oh, I doubt we need self here. So, no errors, but we definitely did not do it right. Let's check proxy. See where, well, we need an F. We need that for length here, and obviously that one there. And we need one there, not one there. Hey, that looks right. Come on, A, or whatever it is. This works. We can try stepping up the threads, and then we can finally solve this freaking task. What is it doing? Looks like it's getting close, though. was it on? 2. I guess it wasn't that close. 3. All right. It's close. I know I've already said it, but if you're this far into the video and you haven't liked and subscribed, really? Really? You find me messing around, screwing up so fascinating, but don't want to subscribe? That makes no sense to me. All right, we're going to change the number of threads. We're going to do 5. We're going to do well, it's only going to do 4. And this is so that we can check, make sure thread still works on a known working thing, and then we're going to freaking solve this. Still works. Perfect. I'm going to change this to 10. And then we're going to do res equals, password equals SQLi dot get response string. Our inner query is going to be select password from users where username equals administrator. Our URL is going to be shop.base URL shop.no proxy and 10 threads. And then we're going to log in as the administrator with that password. So shop.login user administrator password. And then we're going to shop.is solved. Log.info received password. Remember to do an F. Login is solved. Come on. Let's go. We're doing it right here. We've got 10 threads. This should go fast. As long as everything works. Should be probably 20 characters long for the password if things hold true from the last time. I'm too antsy. I gotta see how things are going. Oh, we got a true. Things are coming. 20. I was right. We've got 10 threads going, so this should respond very fast. Each thread only has to find 2 characters. And survey says, this is great airtime right now, right? Sitting back, listening to the dead air while we wait for this to work. Let's see what, it's too suspenseful. See what character we're doing. 20, it's close. It is so close. Any second now. Oh, dang. Received password, that's good. Get login page. None type has, oh, dang it. We need the freaking session. Session equals request.session. We'll do it again. F my life. This took 1 minute and 28 seconds to run. That's not, honestly, that's not too bad. The good thing is that if you've gotten this far and you've built out something similar, is honestly, you'll use it a lot doing web app pen tests. I used almost this exact thing minus, I changed these things just this week. I found a blind SQL, made it Boolean, was able to figure out a good Boolean query, and then use the same technique to exploit or exfiltrate data from it. And I can just, once you've built it, you can just reuse it. These are the parts that need to get changed. So you change those. 17. Oh, we're getting close. And you, exploit the crap out of them. Oh, there we go. Checking if solved. Yes! We did it! Where's my banner? There we go. Whew. That one was a tough one for me. So Oracle is always going to give me problems because I just don't use it nearly as much as anything else, really. But we learned we created a class right here for SQL injection that gets a response string is all we need to ask from it, and it does the stuff. We need to, of course, override some of the methods to format stuff to the case that we're working. And that's the length query. You can see we had to create a custom query for the length in this instance. Same with the char. R is true. We need to change that pretty much every time. And then we formatted the request. I like this a lot. It's reusable. We can easily switch out the parts that we need to and redo the SQL query. That's it. If you have any questions, comments, definitely let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.